Clerk, okay. Hi, well, you already knew, I should have just looked, I'm sorry.
Number five.
Number 5. Okay, we'll start with the clerk of courts budget. Anything that you want to draw the council's attention to?
I don't
It's pretty
have anything
straightforward.
to point out or,
Looks like it's all salary differential, is it not?
yeah,
Mostly.
yeah,
Okay.
just salary.
Okay. And I am going to flip the page to registration of voter. Again, very minimal adjustment. I think probably all in that voter deputy for the most part. Anything anybody wants to ask about there?
So we do have one thing on your clerk on the very beginning, number 11, on her actual salary. We have, that would be her total, but it is spread between 3 budgets.
Oh,
Yeah, she corrected it and I didn't get it corrected in the system.
What are the other two
So
budgets?
well, the first amount for her will be 60,461.
okay.
And then, Stephanie, can you remind me, you're on the election board,
Yes, and that's 3,000.
and that was 3,000, and then
The
there was
voters.
2,000 on the voter.
The voter, yeah, which those amounts are in there. It was the clerk amount that needs to be adjusted.
Okay.
So we just needed to amend that one.
Yeah,
Is that what the voter stipend is?
Yes.
2,000? Okay.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So that just needs to be 0.
No,
No.
it's
No.
correct. We
It's
just,
correct.
it got double counted because it was still in the clerk.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, her salary gets split between the 3 funds.
Okay.
I'm sorry, where's the third fund? I see the 2,000. the
Under election,
She gets, she is 3,000 of the 9,000 on the election board.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
So this number needs to be reduced then to this? Is that
Yes,
what you're
that's
saying?
correct.
Okay.
And that $5,000 difference is between those. Okay.
Got it.
All right, I think we're all clear on that. So I think I didn't hear anything on registration of voters, so let's go to the election board. That's the one we know we've got some things going on with the new equipment, vote center equipment, so. Most of which we've talked about before.
Yes.
And the only thing that's maybe changed since we talked last time, and I can't remember, maybe you did already report about the grant. And
Yes.
I think we all know that we got the grant for, to offset some of this. But you can see as you look through there, several items went to 0 this year, being, 25 being a non-election year. And so that worked out great to, if you add in the grant, account for the grant that we received from the Secretary of State's office, and you look at the difference in the budget year over year, it's really a small increase when you factor in that we got that added revenue essentially in the form of the grant. Now, my understanding is that we will, and you correct me on how this grant works, are we still gonna have to write a check for the full amount and then we get reimbursed for?
well, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
what I was thinking for this year, we'd at least have to pay the,
So we need to keep it at 182, I guess, is my point, because we're gonna have to write a $182,000 check.
Well, are you going to use some of that money for something else?
so like for the panels, it's 36,400. So I was thinking this year for 2024, we need to pay 36,400.
Okay.
So we get that reimbursed. And then next year, 2025, we can pay the rest of the amount on the panels.
Okay, so I guess my point is we could reduce it on the 25 budget then.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can reduce
I did.
182 by 35.4, right?
Yeah, what's that number?
So-
Did I do that math?
I put it at 145,600.
Okay.
Sorry, Stephanie, can you say that again?
145,600.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Good. Great, thank you.
So Britt, I had told you make sure to add that to our revenue, but now we don't because we took it out of the spending.
Right.
So we only got to do it one way or the other. So we chose the spending. So I apologize. I was harping on something that didn't matter, but
Great, thank you.
anything else?
I just had one, well, maybe I have several questions. At the top of that page, the second, third, and fourth things are zeroed. Is that because you're,
Because there's no election.
Because there's no,
there's
If we,
no election.
okay.
if we were to have a
For
special
25,
election,
got it.
then we might need some
Okay,
money, but
thank you. So many darn things to think about.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Hey, Stephanie, I'm sorry. On your first page, the clerk's budget, the clerk of the circuit court, the 01, $12,000, and then the next two below it, the printing and the toner. I don't know if this is a one-time year kind of a thing, but in those three budgets, you have $16,500, and this year, you've spent $1,883 so far this year. So you're requesting 16.5, and there hasn't been much used of those three budgets total. I didn't know if this was cyclical, if this had anything to do with, shouldn't be part of the election, but, you know what I'm saying?
just in the clerk budget,
Yeah,
Yeah.
01, 31, and 32.
I know like office supplies, I mean, and usually we kind of more bulk up at the end of the year to get us into more of next year, which I know we're not going to be really probably doing that because we'll be going over the annex. So,
Yeah, that 12,000, yeah, you have spent it.
In the 2 years
Yeah,
prior.
you just haven't spent much of it yet this year, but historically, you have,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's a
Oh, okay.
good question, but that's probably one of those places where we just trust that they spend what they need and let it roll back.
No, that's
and-
right, yeah. Thanks.
Last budget in that tab is the clerk's records perpetuation, which is just one item, $20,000 for extra labor, which we have not had to tap into for this year.
Or the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is nice to know it's there. So really not, very straightforward budget. Anything anybody wants question or clarification on? Okay. I think that's it, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me, clerk. EMA is next. Oh, there's,
Daryl's in there.
Daryl, you're up.
Okay.
That is tab number 9. The floor is yours.
Okay. The only changes we have is we added $1,200 for overtime for EMA. Before, if my deputy director worked overtime, she took comp time. But she should have the option to either take comp time or money. Before, we always, the last 15 years, she's always just taking comp time. So we put $1,200, asked for $1,200 in there for money in case you'd rather have money. And then we cut, I talked to commissioners and Alan on the fuel. We got $5,000. We decided to cut $2,000 out of that.
Okay.
That's something you didn't know about from the meeting we had with the
Okay.
advisory board. So that figure should be 3,000 now instead of 5,000.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we cut $500 out of building maintenance. It was $5,500. We got $500 out of that. And then we did away with the meals, which was $1,200. So totally, we cut our budget, $3,700. And for
So-
some of you that don't know, we get reimbursed for the federal government. The last reimbursement check we got, which is, we've already got, was $44,827. And that's a job evaluation of people, EMA. If we meet certain requirements, then we get reimbursed for that. And I believe the city even matches that.
Yes.
So really, we're operating on about $80,000 is what it really takes. And out of that,
It's a good budget.
we have a training center out there. Of course, we have the coroners now out there in our facility. We have a dog training facility for law enforcement. And all the fire departments, both city and county, now have a training area. So that's what is utilized out at EMA.
So Daryl kind of referenced that because the city contributes some funding to this, there is an EMA advisory committee that consists of a city council representative, the mayor, county council representative, and commissioner representative. And so this year it was the mayor and Jordan and I met, and Eric wasn't able to make it from the city council. So we had kind of seen a preview of this budget, but I wanted to make sure that Daryl came and got to speak to you all directly. But the city is okay with this, and they're on board to do their contribution again. So he's right. It's really a three-legged stool. We got
Right.
a good chunk from the state, the city,
In
and
the
the
last,
county.
in the last 17 years, we've brought in about $1,300,000 in grants and cash. We were the first ones to get grants to put computers in law enforcement vehicles. The 800 megahertz radios we bought, we got through a grant. So we've helped the community quite a bit. And right now, things are kind of slow, but thank God for that. But it could change at any time. So that's, any other questions, I'd like to answer them.
So am I correct? The only thing that's changed from what you gave us is the fuel came down $2,000.
$2,000 off
All right.
fuel,
Right.
okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It's a good budget, Daryl,
Thank you.
yes.
All right. Thank you, Daryl.
Okay, did he also say he cut out the meals?
Yeah, on the
Yes.
page 2 there.
Yeah, he
It's
cut out-
already zero.
Oh, okay.
It was already zeroed, though,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We did that at the advisory
He
meeting.
was just sharing with us.
Oh, okay, I
Did
see it.
that ahead of
It's on
time.
so there's meals on the front page and then there's meals on the second.
Meals on
Okay.
the front page today.
So there, the
Jason
difference is one is meals for events that they have on site. If they have a training event, food they bring in. The other one was for instance, when we had the tornadoes come through a little over a year ago, and we had a lot of people from out of state coming in, to evaluate damage and everything. Daryl would provide them with food when they were here from FEMA, those types of folks. So we decided we didn't need to, we could always, if that came up again and we needed to put some money in there, we'll do it, or if we needed to move some money around, but we didn't need to have it in there as a annual assumption of a major disaster,
Yes.
So that's why we decided to take that out. Okay. That brings us to extension. Hi, Karen. Looks like you have some guests.
I do. I'm going to introduce some people. So Josh Winroad, he's our area director.
Hi, Josh.
So Nancy Elsey has been a volunteer for years. She runs our Learning to Lead coordinator. And then this is Hannah McFalls Daniels. She got married, so she grew up here in the county and is our new 4-H educator.
Oh, great.
So we've had some transitions and some different things, and I was going to say Daryl's budget is a nice segue into mine because it's also like a three-legged stool from federal,
Yeah.
state, and county budgets, and then run real streamlined as well. And so also like his, we haven't changed much at all. So the county staff and that budget's driven by you. Purdue educators, of course, is driven by Purdue. And so, and that's what I wanted to introduce our staff. And we're very good stewards with the money that we are given. And also, like him, we bring in a lot of grant money. So there was a $3 million Lilly grant. It's bringing in some childcare, some transportation that Clinton County is a part of. Also, we're getting ready to run Juntos, which is specifically for the Hispanic youth here. That's a $640,000 grant that Clinton County is a part of. And so those are just some of those highlights. But yeah, we're running programming here in the county and around, and I would entertain any questions you have as well.
The only thing that I had highlighted, well, two things, but in terms of personnel was the nutrition program assistant, and I wanted to know whether that was a salary survey change or a requested change from Purdue.
So Pat Burkhalter was in a very life-threatening
Yeah.
accident
Yeah.
back in February, and at that time she was like, I'm just going to have to retire. As she healed over the last few months, she wanted her job back. It was still in the line item, and we had some different processes to go for to rehire people. Her job description did not change, so we hired her back at the price for 2024 at her hourly level. That is going to be implemented in 2025 on what you're talking about, increasing her to bring her to that level she needs to be in the range.
So it is based on the salary survey?
It is,
The wage
yes.
went to this, okay, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah, thank you. Now, Josh, you sent a really nice letter to Jordan and I yesterday. Thank you for that. And Jordan talked to the council this morning during his time with the commissioner's budget, and we talked a little bit about the challenges we've had on the contract. And you know, we're committed to getting that worked through, and we'll have discussions coming up, probably, being quite frank, after harvest for Jordan and I. But you know, we had some issues last year and some things that we've got to talk through, and the recommendation and the advice from the commissioners was that we hold our contract payment appropriation level with 2024's amount until such time that we successfully conclude those.
Purdue concurs. I spoke with
Okay.
Dr. Abbott this morning, and she agrees that that's a very reasonable thing for both sides.
Okay. And so Angie Abbott, I'm sure most of you up here know Angie. She's a Clinton County resident, head of extension at Purdue, and has gotten involved in these discussions, and I think has really helped kind of facilitate things moving forward. So I have high hopes that we're gonna come up with a workable solution to some of the frustrations we've had, and we've taken a big step just by starting to fill positions that have been empty. So.
And I do want to, so we've had some different changing around because I ran 4-H for a decade and decided, so Esmeralda took a regional level, so she's still here in the county some and also doing her wonderful work with the Latinx or the Latino population. And then I transitioned into HHS. Hannah got hired on as 4-H, and then Amy Webster starting Monday. So she's our new ag educator, and we're excited to be fully staffed again with all those
Now,
educators.
that's a big one for this county.
It absolutely is. So that is some of the issues we've had, just because, I mean, we're so close to Purdue that a lot of our talent gets swiped to Purdue, and then we are in the, trying to fill those positions, but we want quality. Right? So it takes a little bit of time. Purdue's hiring process takes a little bit of time, but we are fully staffed now, and so appreciative of that.
So let's, for the purposes of this budget and this session here today, let's change that number in the book from the requested 208, 250 down to last year's 202, 170. We'll finish our discussions, and we can adjust that as needed when we get to that successful conclusion. And Josh, I really appreciate you coming over today. That's meaningful to me, so thank you for taking the time.
We're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Good.
And we've had wonderful partnerships for years, and we really do move this county forward, so I do appreciate that too.
Well, we're all so supportive of extension. I think it's not anything that's anti-extension, or we just want to make sure that, I mean, quite frankly, the whole concern is to make sure that Clinton County dollars stayed in Clinton County extension.
Yeah.
And so it really was an extension-focused dialogue, so.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Nancy, thank you for all you do on not just extension, but that Learning to Lead program is so great.
This year we got 57 students.
Really.
Wow.
Tomorrow is their first actual meeting. They all went to Turkey Run in August, not all of them, but because that's not required. So we had 40 some of them down there. And I decided not to go on the trails anymore. So we have plenty of parents, so we're adjusting the program, big program tomorrow. We've got different younger business people coming in, speaking about how they got there, because the kids are gonna hear a lot, so. A lot
Well,
of fun this year.
both my boys completed the program and loved it, so thank you for being the one willing to herd those cats. That's a handful. So, any questions about the extension budget? I mean, we've kind of already talked a little bit about the contract situation, so
I don't have extension about the budget. I just wanted to ask if you're going to, with your new staffing, how are you going to communicate that to the community? Because we've been lacking in some of those positions for so long. People need to know that they've been filled and they can call the extension office, for instance, and get their ag question answered.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll put it out in our newsletters. We'll put it out everywhere, and we're always on Party Line and things like that. So I think it's going to be a welcome change, and people are waiting for that. And we'll get the news out for sure. We have those email listservs and things. I know Alan was always missing the Ag Educators newsletter, and things like that. But yeah, and you can always call Extension, and we will find you the answer. So it's nice to have a world-renowned university, right in
Yeah.
our backyards where we can, and have those specialists and things like that. So we're just boots on the ground, so it's good.
okay, great. Well, I look forward to the discussions. I think better days to come.
Absolutely.
We'll fix those problems. Okay. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
all
you.
of you,
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nancy.
Appreciate it.
We'll skip the airport. We'll get to that maybe at the end, since we've got others here waiting. That brings us to Parkview. We got Chris here with us. Parkview is number 15.
Good afternoon.
Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Were your ears burning at lunch? We were talking about it.
Not all of us. Tell me, I'll say.
Not all of us.
Yeah, a group of us. We're singing your praises.
Well, good. I appreciate it. Just for the benefit of new council, I just always want to preface it by one thing I want you guys to realize. Parkview operates self-sufficiently from January 1st to December 31st, and that's based on the rent I bring in from the residents. So really, the taxpayers are paying for 10 full-time county employees and 2 part-time. Now, as long as I keep my numbers around 21 now, where we're at, you're talking about 148, 150,000 it takes to operate that home. I have to bring in about 12.3 every month. I've been there until this month. Unique crowd, people come and go, but I'm sure we'll get back up there. I brought in a resident, 2 actually, in the last month, and I have another potential. So as long as I stay around 22 residents, we're at a break-even point. So I wanted you guys to understand that. You look, a couple things on the budget, only went up about just under 5%. You'll see I moved some monies. I go back 5-6 years and look at where money's been held and kind of adjust. So I take Rob from Peter to pay Paul. Had to increase food and dairy. It's always a struggle, as you guys know. Food costs are just ridiculous. Also, I just got bad news from our chiller. I know you guys have had issues here at the courthouse. They fixed the one circuit, and they think the load put on that one with these hot temperatures has now messed up the second one. We're good. I think we're going to wait till next year. I'm going to talk to Chuck at Irish, but I got about a $16,000 quote. I'd like to add that into 52 line item 3030052 because I think I'm going to get some other quotes. I don't always go with our contracted people, but I felt like that's kind of high. So I need to add about 16 grand for next year in that.
Britt, quick question. So since this is in county general, does it count for all of county general, or does each department have to be below the advertised amount?
All of County General.
So we've got room because we've made other cuts that we could add 16 here.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate to do it, but it's better than, next year, like normally something will break. I try to get every minute out of everything, as you guys know, but I hate coming in the middle of the year asking for money. So this time I'm ahead of the game,
So 030052 is what you're
which
talking
is
about, right?
equipment, I think.
Equipment and facility. We want
Yes.
to take that from 5 to 21.
Yes, and it's
Okay.
just for next year to get that circuit on that chiller repaired.
Okay.
But again, I'm going to call Lafayette, Lebanon. I'm going to try to get some other quotes and see if maybe we can beat that price. They say they give us the best, but I've found in the past that's not always true. So I'm going to do my homework.
Okay.
But that way, at least we have it in there next year. And even if there's a small percentage increase with the time, I've got money in other line items I can adjust.
Okay.
The only other question I had, Cecily and I had a conversation. Amy Melton, our nurse, they were talking about bringing her up with the new salaries from the 53 you see listed to 58,656, I believe. I didn't know if that got approved. I did make the recommendation, Cecily asked me, and to change her to exempt status.
It's up to 53,992 on here.
I didn't get that change, Chris. That's my fault.
Yeah, and I just want to know if we were going to go that direction or not.
The number on the budget is 53,992. That's right? It's not right?
That's not the midpoint?
58,656, I think, is what Cecily and I discussed, is what they're looking at now.
That's the midpoint?
And again, moving her to exempt status as opposed to non-exempt.
It's-
I'm sorry, which one are we?
We're looking at 010025 nurse.
Nurse.
2.5. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
What are we changing that to?
58,656.
Right.
And I have
So
some,
that, if we're changing the classification status, that'll have to go to the committee then, correct?
That is the FLSA threshold.
But-
That's the
but-
one Cecily.
But he was saying he was gonna talk about changing her to exempt.
No, I was told she was going
She
to
is.
exempt status.
That will be exempt if you move her to that 58.
yes,
Oh, okay. I
Yeah, she's
understand.
non-exempt
That's the
now.
threshold.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then I have questions. So this is one of those situations.
okay, bring it
Okay,
up.
so, the grounds maintenance, it looks like the high point has been put in instead of the midpoint. The
For
midpoint
Kent Spalding?
is 43,257,
Yeah.
and the high point is 47,584.
Well, what happened is, I brought up, Kent has been with us 37 years, and I think Alan and Cecily had this conversation, and he was increased to that number. But he is going now, he is exempt. I think former administrator did that. He's going back to non-exempt, is what I was told.
I don't think I talked to Cecily about this one. His length of service should mean a generous longevity payment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that's for.
Because that's what I got directly from Cecily. I had pushed just to see, for something we could do with his dedication, nearly 40 years, and it went from 43 to the 47. This was probably a month ago.
Do you know what the midpoint was?
Oh, yeah.
I can ask her to come down.
The midpoint
The
is
mid- the midpoint-
43,258.
It's 43,257.
Around it.
I've told her she's on call all day. The next
This
few
is one of
days.
those situations, so the midpoint is 43,257, but that wouldn't give him a 3% increase, so we'd want to go to 43,992 to give him the 3% increase that everyone else is getting. But that's using a midpoint, not the high point. And then, while we're waiting for Cecily to come down, if you look down to the kitchen 16 and 17, their situations are similar. They are, the midpoint, let's see, yeah. They went to the midpoint, and it's just a few bucks, but this is just one of those situations. So they went to the midpoint at 37,954, but 3% is 38,969. So in order to get them to 3%.
Oh, that's $1,000,
We
isn't
need we need to bump them up to.
Yeah, some of them are under, and I think if you look, even the custodians are at
They've
like
got
2.9 and
So our
2.4.
intent is that everybody
Ground,
gets
at
the
least
3%.
Yeah. Now, the one cook, and I don't have her name on here, one was only getting a small increase because what they were doing is bringing the other two cooks up to that median. That's Angie Akerd, and she was only getting a minimal increase, and the other two caught up with her. But hers is 0.3% is what I calculated from where she's at this year to
And
next.
that's an even trickier one because
We
now
need-
you've
Yeah.
got three people doing the same position.
And, yeah, we need
Yeah.
to know that, but
And I understand that's going to be tricky.
Cecily, can you talk to the grounds maintenance pay? He moved it to the high, not the medium.
Kent Spalding.
So, we kind of had discussed that there were a few positions that maybe would go up into the high versus the medium, just based off of the length of time they had, that they've been here. It was still within the range, so that's why we moved him. just, not just the length of time, but he was going to be, it came back that he was kind of in the same category as them. So.
As the what, I'm sorry?
As a cook, that's been there
Oh, I
3
see.
years. He was only gonna be making
So,
100 and some more
There were a
dollars.
few that there were a couple adjustments that were done, and that was one of them.
And guys, I don't want to toot Kent's horn, but 37 years, the dedication level to the county, to those residents. He does have a wife that's got illness. And again, I'm not pulling on your heartstrings, but, you know, he's gone through the drought of 5 years with no raises back in the day.
See, the
He's stuck
problem,
with
Chris, is that we're doing this because of Kent, not because of the grounds maintenance position.
Yes.
We're gonna adjust this salary up, and then it's gonna need to be replaced, and we've got it set at somebody who's not there for 37 years.
Yes, sir.
But that's where we have the scale to go back to say,
We need to go back to the mid, if a person leaves on a high thing, the job needs to go back to the midpoint.
or no, to
Think, right?
go even to the low.
Yeah.
So.
And okay, I get all that. I'm not sure that we have a clear, seems like a lot of subjectivity to this, rather than having written requirements or written, you know what I mean? So would you do the same thing for 33 years or 27 years or, where's we just don't have, I don't know, that makes me queasy a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know the point score, what you guys are doing, but wouldn't a maintenance guy rate higher than a cook?
But just
from-
it depends on
That
where
was the
where they were
problem.
What they know.
classified.
The cooks have almost caught up with it.
I'm not against doing it. I'm just trying to say, how do you keep it from spilling over to everybody saying,
Everybody
there's some
saying,
special
yeah.
reason why I need to be at the high?
Right, right. Maybe there's a classification issue, maybe that position should have
Yeah,
been
that's what I'm-
classified differently.
See, we did that when we redid him. I didn't know how, he's maintenance and landscaping. I mean, he does it all, the whole property. Yeah, and I don't know what the best way is, but I will tell you guys this, when I do bring somebody in, I don't put them on, for example, I have two cooks, let's say making 40,000 a year. I bring in a new person, I bring them in just under, because I don't think it's justified that these people have been with us 3 to 5 years, and a newbie comes in making the same amount. It's still reasonable, it's an amount they agreed to when I hire them. And it's just, to me, it's understandable they should be below the people who have put in the time with the county.
Good for morale.
But that was the tricky part, is that I've got a cook with 3 years that's gonna be making just, $100 less than the guy that's put in 37 years with this county. And that's my plea. You guys, I'm gonna accept it, and I promise you Kent will. Kent's gonna put in 40. He can't go anywhere. He's not going to. He signed an agreement, he doesn't know. I got a contract. So, be careful what you sign. But I'll leave it up to you guys. Anything you can do would be appreciated, even if we don't go that high. Just something to get them above the cook and just show our appreciation for somebody that's gonna put 40 years in this county.
And what is his portion of the longevity on
Yeah,
here?
so he's maxed out.
Yeah.
Maxed out.
And
3,000.
the max is
3,000.
30.
Okay.
I mean, you could sell me on the criteria as super longevity. Somebody over 30 years gets to go to the high point immediately, but we need to have that as part of a policy. That's all I'm
That's
saying.
Needs
a
to be
good
across the
thought.
board.
That's all I'm
good
saying.
thought.
You just,
Needs to be across the board.
I think that's a legit.
I like that. I do too.
well, I have a good idea every once in a while.
Thank you, Alan.
Super longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30 years
Yeah,
plus.
super longevity.
You go to the high point. I don't know. That was just it. At that point, it was not just
It's
that,
not
hey,
any more
it was-
money,
It was.
it's
It was not. Kent's a heck of a guy. We're going to get him more. The other
And
guy
it's
didn't
not
get
just
we don't
that,
like
Alan.
him.
I get what you're saying, and we don't want it to look a certain way, and policy change would be a good idea. But you don't see that anymore. Average people stay at jobs now is 4 to 6 years. And I'm telling you, Kent's in there, pushing snow, just in there the other night, when the power went off, restarting elevators and all that. The guy loves those residents. He is committed to this county. He's not going anywhere. I won't let
I
him.
think you should look at it as level of experience. Whether he's been with the county for 30 years, then he's coming in with the maximum amount of experience that someone's going to have.
Well, he knows the place better than anybody.
He does.
Well, every time he leaves, something breaks. I hate him going on vacation. I'm not kidding. The building's haunted. It's something. And that too is a valid point. But again, to yours, Alan, if, God forbid, let's say he left a year or two from now, we can adjust that salary back.
You
And I
could,
think it'd be
but
just-
you could, but I guess I just want something that says it will.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
100%.
Okay,
Because before you fill any position now, they have to look to make sure that there's no changes. And then you guys have to give approval, so that would all be discussed
Okay.
at the time.
okay, fair enough.
I almost wonder too, and I know we've classified and reclassified, but if he's almost not classified, it seems like, what did he do when you had the power outage? And, that seems like more than just a groundskeeper.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Well, Kent's on call
he's ground
24/7 like
slash-
I am. And he's there, he's 5 minutes away from the home.
That's a good point. If you consider him maintenance, he came back way lower than other maintenance positions that we have in a couple of the other. If you were to compare, because there's 2 maintenance positions in the jail. Does highway have?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Sure, the maintenance guy hits the scoreboard points that are quick.
And even if you compare him to
Yeah, we're not-
Roush here as maintenance. So I do think maybe the wording in the job description, maybe we didn't put everything in it that should have been put in it to classify him as maintenance.
Maintenance guys out on the highway, they're the ones that make about the most money, don't they?
I think he's under groundskeeper.
Only the ones that
That's probably.
Help me out, Todd.
I have no idea.
Grounds and maintenance.
I know what mine make.
Only the ones that sit on the shovels.
Not the highway guys.
Okay. The only remaining thing that I feel uncomfortable about is the other two in Britt's office. We said we were gonna wait and talk about later and talk about them
Well,
together,
I think we need to talk about all
So-
of this.
So either we need to put this on our list,
Yeah.
We need to put it on our
and
list.
we're gonna circle back, or we go back and relook at the auditor's office and make a couple of decisions there too. But, so whichever way you wanna go, I just wanna be consistent.
True.
I want to make sure that everybody has the right numbers for those other 3 positions.
Yeah, that's why I was gonna ask you,
So
Cheryl, what are
on
those?
16 and 17, it's 38,969.
Okay,
And on 19, it's 38,606.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Level, but it would bring up 14 or 15.
Those are to get those up to the 3%.
Thank you. Yeah, they were under.
Yeah, yeah. So we have that much taken care of.
Did you write down, are you writing notes
Yeah.
about, because I haven't
I'm
done a
writing
good job
lots of
on
notes.
the notes about the
Super-
High Point
the super
people.
thing?
Well,
Super longevity over 30 years.
I just want to make sure we don't forget any of these High Point
Super.
people.
I got it.
Okay, so add that one to the
Does
list.
that add any
You're either
money?
gonna-
Does that add any money?
Got it. I got it on my notes.
Be headed for the cemetery.
Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about
let's see
while we
if I
have
have
Chris
any
on the
other-
hot seat?
I just want to ask, I have a couple of notes here. We already talked about the nurse. I think that was all my notes, I think. Oh, and we changed that one to 21,000, so, per your request. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I think we're good. The rest, anybody else have anything?
Elevator good?
Thank God.
We might,
Boiler's good.
There we
House
go.
is dang chiller.
Yeah, we're gonna have a new place here in
Yeah,
another
that's
year.
right, exactly.
Well, and again, if I could foresee it, we could have adjusted that, this year for next. But I was trying to get bids. People didn't want to come out. Post-COVID, I don't know, parts issues, supply chain, and then, of course, it hits you. But you got companies coming in every month doing maintenance, and they don't say, hey, this thing looks like it's going to break on you.
Yeah.
And it just happens. But I appreciate your guys' support. We keep it, like I said, I told Alan a long time ago, my commitment is not to improve that building, but to maintain it. We're not trying to push ourselves out of a job and make that a multi-million-dollar building. I just want to keep that thing going.
We
I'm a
appre-
believer.
we appreciate your work.
Well, thank you. It's my 11th year, so
Yeah.
I'm still rocking. And I've got a good staff, we've got good residents, we've got a good
You've made a
system.
difference.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I've tried. There's 8 homes left. There's a couple teetering. This is a dying thing. There were 92 in the beginning. Every county had one. So when I started, there were 14 and 3 closed. 14 closed, 1, 15, 16. I thought, what did I sign up for? And they were good until last year, 2 more closed. So it's just a dying thing, but we're hanging in there.
All right.
So
Thank you, Chris.
serving the community.
Thanks.
Thank all of you. I appreciate it.
That's true.
So many pieces of paper.
You got a bunch under there.
Well, I know, and it fell and it made a mess, and now I don't have time to pick it up.
Okay. Okay.
See ya.
All right. Nope, you can-
Okay, next up, probation, which is tab 16.
16.
Oh, yeah.
Quarter, 16.
Okay, Nancy, we will start. The first on our list here is just the regular probation budget. Fund 235, I guess that would be. Or budget 235. So I think that one's all your probation officers.
Yeah, I think, except for Nathan. Nathan's paid through the DOC grant,
Okay.
and the rest of his salary is paid through user fees. Part of my salary is paid through user fees.
Jeff made a comment at lunch about your longevity number's so big that that staff has
Yeah.
been there a long
Long
time.
time.
Yes.
That's great.
I am very blessed. Ember, Dan, and I have been there over 20 years.
Wow.
So Ember and I are 23, Dan's 20, Jen is 14, and Matthew and Lindsay and are 10 plus, and Nathan, I think December is his 10th year.
Is that right?
Very unusual. A lot of probation officers are jumping ship. We just came back from conference, and very few old timers. I know it looks like we do get paid a lot, but the most they give us per year is almost 2%. And even after, like the county, we don't take county raises. So I think one year you got 10%.
2 years ago.
Yep, we got 3. So I think last year they gave us an adjustment. The probation officers wanted them to change the whole pay scale, and they gave us 6%, but didn't change the scale. So after you hit your 20 years, all you get after that is your cost of living. Up until then, between 0 and 5 years, you get a certain amount, and then they stair-step you up till 20 years, and after that, you're a flatliner. So that's where most of us are at. So that's why a lot
That's
of,
why a lot of people are jumping.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
so we are very fortunate to have the probation officers we do.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Okay, we'll move on then to adult probation administration. This budget's actually a little lower year over year.
Yeah.
Okay, here's something I'm confused about. Why does Trex show as an expense? Down at
Yep.
030086. I can't figure that one out.
Shouldn't be on here, should it at all? It's income, right?
Yes.
Did I put it in the wrong one?
No, does it?
Is that a receipt line
No.
or?
It's a disbursement line.
Okay.
So do you write something out of there?
Well, we take in Trex, but we also take it in and pay it out to the clerk. We prepay pauper attorney fees to the
okay.
courts, and we pay restitution and the drug refund.
So that's the Trex money you brought in that goes to somebody else.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
that
Some
makes
of it
sense.
goes to user fees, some repays your pauper attorney fees, some pays restitution to victims,
Okay.
some pays the drug refund.
So it's coming back around.
Yeah.
So it
yeah.
goes back to you.
That makes perfect sense. I didn't
So-
know that.
Yeah, it doesn't all come to us.
The administrative assistant, 017, fourth one down at the top, that went down.
Okay, so I had a full-timer who had been there like 14 years. She left.
Okay.
And so
So
then I
you're starting
hired-
out somebody new with
Yeah,
a lower
she-
pay.
and she's
Okay.
part-time.
Well, there you go.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that budget? Juvenile probation administration, it's like that's all overtime. For
Yep.
just $5,000.
That's it.
Okay. I always thought we had a user fee fund. Do we not have that anymore? Did I skip it?
No, it wasn't on there.
Am I missing a fund, Nancy?
The 2002 fund, I think, State Board of Accounts, they did away with that one.
Okay,
Yeah, like years ago.
okay.
So we merged that with 2000.
Okay. Well, very straightforward. I don't have any questions. Anybody else have anything to discuss? All right. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Next on the list is the recorder. Last go round, Beth. Last go round.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're gonna miss us.
Yes, I will. First of all, thank you for the longevity pay idea, and also the idea of, getting the salaries in line, having the surveys. Just this morning, I realized that I put the longevity pay into the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund for the deputies, and I really don't want it to be there. I don't really want to use that fund for that. That's where their salaries come from, but I'd like to keep it, put that into general, along with the other, the recorders. Did you?
Yes.
I was
Okay,
gonna say, that's where I show it
Yours is
being.
in the recorder,
okay.
the others are in the other fund.
But you want.
But I don't,
you want any
I'm
perpetual-
requesting,
Oh, all of it?
I'm requesting that
Oh.
we'd have no longevity pay in the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund.
You want it, so
You
should
want
be-
it-
So it should be 48.
But also-
in 16.
I don't have it correct. One of them will receive 800 and the other one will receive 1,600. So I have that incorrect. Let me get my, okay, yeah.
2,400.
So it'd be 20, yeah. Well, it'll be me because I'm going to be a deputy next year. So I'll have 2,400. The other deputy will have 800. So it'll be 3,200. So the numbers that are moving would be different that go into if I could have them go into the recorders.
So the total is 3,200 instead of
Yeah,
48?
yes.
On the 16 line,
What about,
Right.
016.
what about Kylie?
Yeah.
I have her in the recorders budget, and I have it correct. I have it.
We
as
need to go
6
24 plus 32.
32.
I have it as 1,600. I did it right, in the longevity pay right in the recorder fund, but I didn't do it right in the deputy line, in the 1189 account.
So 19 will be 1,600? By 19?
By
You have
19.
2,400, what will it go to?
3,200.
In your recorder's perpetuation?
No, that one's
Yeah,
going to
she
zero.
wants
That one's
none.
going to
That's
zero.
That
going to
one's-
zero.
And
Yeah.
she
Is
wants
that what you're saying?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
1189 account, I'd really like it to just, I would like the longevity pay not to be used on that fund, in that fund.
So you want it all to be in the other
County
fund, but
general.
what is the total now?
What
So-
do you want the total to be?
16.
4,800 then?
1,600
I
and
think that's wrong.
3,200.
That 48.
4,800.
4,800.
It is right?
Don't you want it to be 48?
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's what I
48
48,
total,
okay.
total.
Okay, so
And
it
that would
is.
make
this
sense
is the
because it was
only- this is the
2,400
only
and
account with
2,400
longevity
makes
pay.
4,800.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
like
I
Todd,
didn't
right?
think of it until this morning.
I've
and-
I've written it in and
and,
crossed it out, and it was
Me
right,
too.
and I'm writing it in again.
And also, thank you.
That's why I use a pencil with an
Yeah, I
eraser.
know, I should be.
I'd be out of eraser.
Okay, so we're at 4,800 in the regular recorder's budget, 0 on the recorder's perpetuation for longevity.
Correct.
Okay.
On the recorder fund budget, we only went up $95. I just, just a little bit of, little slight change. And then in the recorder's perpetuation fund, I just put in allowed for some more book repairs. We don't have any special project being taken care of right now, but that big U.S. imaging project just got completed with the redaction this last week. So that was a 2-year project, basically. So, and then I do that ID protection fund, the
Right.
number
That's
11.
the third fund. but-
Yeah, I'll let you, I should go in.
No, you're
you
fine.
suggest.
I-
Okay.
Well, let us pause here. And does anybody have any questions on the recorder's perpetuation? Okay, so then let's move on to the identification, security, protection.
Yes. And we probably won't use all of that because some of this is our estimates, but then there's going to be an upgrade in some redaction services. I added that, and but come to think of it, they said it took 6 hours to do the extra programming for the redaction services on that, so.
So okay, let me make sure I'm following. The redaction, you have going from a 24 budget of 6,000 to a 25 budget of 29,900. And that's for what now?
Redacting all the images that we had U.S. Imaging digitize for us
Okay,
for the 30-some years, and also that the programming fees they had to do some redactions by hand. 3,700 of them had to be done by hand, so that takes.
that's different than the project you said just finished, the 2-year project?
This is the same project, and
So wouldn't we be paying that in 24 and not 25 if they're finishing now?
possibly, yeah, that's true. I think I might have had it in. I haven't got the bill yet because they just finished, so that's. But I really didn't know when they were going to get done, so
Yeah.
I could ask them when that's coming through. We can get it.
Well, we'll figure it out and pay it whichever year it needs to be. I just was trying to be straight in my mind
Yeah.
what we were talking about. Okay.
The first line though is for having our scanners and the services associated with any kind of ID protection. We have estimate of an invoice we get every year. So that's truly for 2025.
Well, the digitizing sheet.
I wonder if they're in the
digitizing
wrong
is-
line.
I don't know, the digitizing hasn't been paid yet, none of it's been used yet.
1160?
Yes.
Yeah, the last thing she said. It's confusing.
Almost.
She put this all,
Beth, the digitizing is the 24,000.
Right.
750, right?
Right, and then
Not the
there's-
29.
But there's nothing requested for 25.
So.
No, the 29,900 is the total.
it's the total,
So she
all of
has
those.
in one line,
she has it.
she
broke
has
down.
it broke down on the Form 1. At the ID security protection is 4,200. The upgrade for the redaction services is 7,000.
Or 700.
700, I'm sorry.
Yeah. that's okay.
Then she has the estimated images at 24,000 and then 5 hours of programming, 1,000 to total the 29,900. So she didn't separate it like is on our budget.
I see, so
Okay.
what we're looking at, the
Okay.
total is 29.9, but it's for all of those things.
It
Okay.
is.
Yes.
So we could be comparing 29.9 to 30.
38.64.
30, yeah,
Last
38,
year's budget.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Now
Can we
we can
clarify that on our budget lines if we're gonna, I mean, I don't know if those are gonna be anything ongoing, but
I mean, some of that, when you're talking about, hours of something, I guess you can. I can break it down if you.
Well, or,
well, do those 4 or 5 items deserve to have their own line item in the budget? I guess is what I'm asking.
Really, there'd only be 4 lines, so I really think that we already have a line for the CSI,
We do, yeah.
and that could go into the two. We could make that.
Yeah, that
This
might-
would
4,900.
be. and then
Everything
the
else
other-
would be services and support.
Really, we have two lines, and we can
Separate
make
it.
that work, yes.
Okay, okay.
Now, on that 1160 budget for last year, I'm not sure we haven't used that 38 because I put that redaction service in there last year too, because I didn't know when it was coming.
So for what you have presented to us right now, what would her first line be? So it would be 4,900 for line one.
Okay.
And then Janet, what would line two be?
25,000.
For the
25,000?
25,000. That's how that should really read.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not really changing much, Beth, at all.
Yeah, the total's the same, but just a
Yes.
little more descriptive for us.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Beth? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Hi,
you.
Beth.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us to Central Dispatch.
Number,
That is,
21.
21. I'm sorry, you're gonna get the beep, beep, beep during your
Yes, that's
budget
okay.
presentation. So
But I
let's-
get to leave, I don't have to listen to
Yeah.
it any longer
do
after
you want
you.
anything said about this?
Which one are you gonna start with?
Looks like first on our is the 911.
Okay. I had told
21.
Chris, when we were talking about this, I mean, as you all know, the council, like, boy, that's really annoying, isn't it?
None to it
Now
after
that
a
I'm
while.
trying to talk
Yeah.
and, concentrate, as you know, as the council, like, we've had several projects over the last few years. So I think now we are going to be set,
Good.
Barring anything. I think moving forward, our radios are going to be good for the next several years. Obviously, our consoles, a year or so, a year and a half, whenever it was, we did the upgrade hardware refresh with our phones. So I think we're kind of almost back to semi-normal, whatever normal is, budget. So, starting with that, obviously the salary information, I took that from what we were provided. So are there any questions on any of that? Other than I will tell you, on the bilingual stipend, so for this year's budget, that was new for this year. And our 3 bilingual, this year, they only received $200 a year. I can't tell you the benefit of having 3 bilingual staff immediately. Yes, do we have language line that we can connect to, but it takes a considerable amount of time and slows us down, where we have 3, and obviously they're not always on 24/7, depending on the shift, but to be able to rely on those. I did have a conversation with Cecily that some of the other, I don't know, maybe the courts or somewhere, do pay more than that. I did put 1,000 in, and I am asking 1,000. There's 1 in this, and then there are 2 in my other, because 1 is a shift supervisor, and then the other 2 would come out of my other budget, out of Central Dispatch. So I did, as far as any additions up there in salary-wise, that is an increase. And obviously up for discussion, but I just, so we break it into, we pay them quarterly this year, so they receive $50 extra quarterly on their check. And it's invaluable to have bilingual staff. Everybody appreciates all their staff, but having someone that can do that quickly, efficiently, immediately for emergency services is huge for us. So that is an addition.
My only question would be a big picture question, and I guess of all the funds, this is one of the ones that I maybe have the least comfort level on determining what the revenue is to
Right.
go with it.
Yes,
Because we
yes.
sometimes get extra payments and sometimes we
We
don't. and all.
typically will get one extra payment. Right now, I still do not foresee the statewide 911 board requesting an increase in the 911 that everybody pays, whether it's cell phone, residential, that they pay to the state, and then the state 911 board distributes that money out to us. So our revenue is approximately 450, it's like 37.5, I think, a month. And then, again, never guaranteed, but the last several years, when the state reviews all of their finances, then they make an extra distribution. And I should have wrote that down or double checked. I believe the last couple of years, it's been between 60 and 70,000 that we get usually sometime in the late fall.
So where that's going to me is that we have a structural budget deficit then, that we're gonna gradually just eat up your cash
Correct.
balance.
So, I mean, moving forward, obviously, and we've talked about this, Alan, you and I for years have known there may be issues. And we are, our statewide 911 board, like they're by statute set out, only certain things can come out of this. Obviously, salaries is one. So we may have to juggle some things moving forward. I mean, obviously, you also know, but we also have to count that, yes, every dime that we budget will be spent.
Yeah, right.
So we have to anticipate that. However, we never have done that, and I don't spend frivolously just to be spending. But again, it's something that we will have to think about moving forward each year and see where it comes. I know, like, moving forward on our phone services, the professional services, our CenturyLink, CenturyTel, Frontier, TDS, those, which are only $12,250, but the statewide 911 board is still anticipating taking over all of those. They took over AT&T a few years ago, so that was one less that we had to pay for. But again, I don't have a date to say. Yes, it sounds like in '25, the state is going to take over those accounts for us. So
But which ones would that be? I'm sorry.
so that's in our 03 on the second page, the other services. So it is basically like we have CenturyLink and CenturyTel, Frontier, TDS. Those are phone companies where we have to pay to get their information from. And again, they're smaller because they're small companies, and so like I think Rossville has maybe CenturyTel or CenturyLink, some of those. So they're smaller phone companies, but like I said, AT&T, which was our largest one, the state took that one over probably 2 or 3 years ago. So still looking at maybe not having that, but again, we don't know when a date on that. Our ACCS, that is our connectivity between us and the police department for our backup. So that's just a monthly fee. Moving down in 03, our training, our Motorola Spillman maintenance, that's a rough estimate. They used to give me an exact amount of what to anticipate each year going into my budgets. They don't do that anymore. They tell me to plan on an increase, and so I just give it my best guess and put something in there, and if we have to add, I'll have to come back. I am responding's the same. Maintenance, our Nixle maintenance, that is all the same. Power phone maintenance is the same. It will go up again, probably for next year's budget because we added our 5th position.
Yeah.
So that will be an increase. Our Crossroads GIS, that is an increase for this year. Simply, that is our mapping vendor. And they sent us a message, so Esri, which is our mapping, Esri will stop supporting the current Esri software in the first quarter of 2026. And so we needed to go ahead and do this additional upgrade for the Esri software in order for the mapping to work. And that needed to be done in 2025. So otherwise, next year, it will go back down to, I believe, 11,000 is what is normally budgeted for Crossroads. So our Mevo support and maintenance, that is for our to-go kits for our phone system that we can take with us in the event we have to evacuate. Our digital software maintenance, those are relevant costs. Those are, they gave me those exact amounts. And that does include our 5th position moving forward.
Okay.
Our Motorola post warranty, again, that's radio warranty on all of our radio equipment. The digital network services, that is much like our up above with our phones, like CenturyTel and CenturyLink, and digital network services, and they are our 911 provider. And then this is our other saving grace, Alan. Our Motorola equipment lease out of this, the $94,552, it comes to an end, I believe it's next year or 26.
Okay.
So that will be done. And I'm sorry I did not write that down. I want to say next year will be our last payment. If not, it's 26. So I do apologize for that. So that will be $94,552 that will no longer be coming out. And like I said, our radios will be good for the next several years.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be a big
So
relief.
that will help us. I mean, that's a bigger amount that will help us coming off of that.
Okay. Any other questions on the 911 side of things? Let's flip the page then to dispatch.
So again, the salary information came from what we were given. And again, here's the bilingual stipend that I've added in there for our 2 dispatchers that are bilingual. As you know, this also is for all of our group medical because we are self-sustaining, so nothing comes out of county general. So all of our medical insurance and everything for everyone that takes it in our dispatch center comes from our central dispatch budget. Our uniforms, I increased that, I believe, by 500 just because we will have more dispatchers. I kept our public education. We hadn't used the public education the last few years, but I am pleased to say, like, we decided to purchase things. We've been back out in the community again, so we attended National Night Out. Last week, I attended the pregnancy event, the baby shower, to pass out things and talk about, we want to get back out in the community. And so I think that's important for us to do that as well. Our Shelby products, those are the chairs that we lease for dispatch, and that did increase simply because we added the 5th chair at our 5th position. ESO Solutions, that is what formerly was the fire Spillman
Okay.
that we have funded. So that amount is the $21,547, and that is because Spillman pushes to the fire reporting system. The Frontline Public Safety Solutions, we came to you a couple months ago. Chris and I, we have added this Frontline Public Safety Solutions. We think this is going to really streamline things for us, for our training purposes, to be able to track training. It's all of our DORs. Currently, we have filing cabinets full of papers. So every day, a dispatcher that is in training, we document everything that they do with their trainer. So we have pages and pages, like filing cabinets full. This will streamline all of that. Put it all online. It'll be searchable. Now, if we needed to go back and look for something, we're looking through folders of documents. So it's possible next year we may come back. We're trying it out short term this year. We started it last month. So we had a shorter version of a contract with them because we wanted to try all the things to see, is this something that's working for us? And so far, it really is. I think it's going to help us considerably. Chris is also using it as the QA. We do quality assurance, so Chris QAs our calls. So if we have chest pain calls or different things like that, that's an important part of us reviewing those things to make sure we're doing what we need to be doing as well. So just a very important part of the overall process. So that is what Frontline is. So I think that amount only covers one of the modules that we had purchased with them for this year. So we're still going to continue to review that the rest of this year and see where we stand at the end of the year using that. I did increase our mileage a little bit because Chris and I are traveling more with trainings and things like that. Our meals, lodging, and seminars. I think all of that really is all about the same, our postage, our dues, membership, official records, that's what we use when we pay Indeed when we're hiring, because we use Indeed now. Our repairs and maintenance is, I believe, still the same at 5,000, and service agreements at 5,000.
Okay. You probably have it, I don't have it, top of my notes on what your revenues are gonna be on that public safety lit.
I've not gotten that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
We-
so I
we-
don't know what
We
that
do
is.
have it, let me, I'll
Okay,
get it. We
yes,
just
yes,
got
I
it
don't
here,
have that.
so-
I think this year is 70 something a month. I can't remember off the top of
It
my
went
head.
up, a little, so Britt will have that. I wanna say it was up like 3% or
Okay.
something, so,
Okay. Better than going down.
that's absolutely right.
Yes.
But Central Dispatch, that fund had a nice cash balance, so.
It did.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of, over the years, before this budget was lower
Yeah.
and our 911 budget was healthier, you know, and so that's why we chose to use the 911 budget for some of those projects like our radio, those higher projects. So that's kind of dipped down. So I think if we get through the rest of this year and moving into next year, I think things will start to maybe level out some by not having a lot of big projects and kind of maybe being able to build both funds back up some.
Okay. Any questions?
I will say, I'm very thankful to have Chris back with us. It's been phenomenal having him back and in this role. I don't know where we would be right now without him, but I feel like we are finally starting to make progress, as you know, seeing all of these, you know, transfers and additionals with overtime. You know, this has honestly probably been our worst year ever. You know, Chris he stepped up and he went to a shift for a few months to help cover because we had so much overtime and such a shortage. But our last few that we've hired, like one just was signed off a month ago, one is about to be signed off this month, and the other one probably here in the next month and a half, have been very successful. So I think we are, you know, maybe we're getting there.
Do you think that the wage adjustment will help on that too?
I do think
Yeah,
that.
okay.
I do think that, absolutely.
But so-
You know, and
yeah.
then, you know, just longevity is it's gonna be beneficial. You know, you have people that have stayed and you wanna appreciate that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we do have some. Yes, have we lost a lot? But we have a lot who have stayed over the years, you know, and I think this will definitely be a great addition
That's good to hear.
for everybody. Like, I really do. And I think all of our people have been very, very excited about that, and it's appreciative. You know, it does show that, you know, it does make a difference, and we all know, like, things are different now, and to be competitive, and I feel like we are there now. I think we're getting there, and like I said, I think we're on the right path. We're getting there.
Okay, that's good to hear, thank you.
What kind of stuff?
Chris, do you
did
have anything else you want to add? Like, I mean,
I was just
he
trying to learn.
came and trying, you know, because, yeah,
been to one of
like,
these.
yes,
Yeah.
so this has been, yeah.
Next year, she's gonna let you do it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
All right,
So obviously,
Okay.
you know, you can call me anytime if you have any questions or anything. So,
okay, thank you.
thank you. Thanks.
I wanted to ask her what kind of plastic stuff did she give away at the National Night?
Everybody still doing okay? Anybody need an after lunch break?
Coffee?
Okay. Well, next on my list is the surveyor who has
walked in.
just perfect stage timing to. That's true.
I'll stay here.
You're one of our key viewer demographics. you
yeah.
know.
It's been about 9 on average today.
Is that right? Okay, well, that's good to know. That is tab 23. Beginning with the regular surveyor budget, general fund budget. Anything you want to let make special note to the council or speak to?
I think I've got all the salaries in order. It took a little while to work all that out, but working with Cecily, she was very helpful, and I think we got to where we need to be,
Okay.
per your guidance. I think I did, add a new line for training, $1,500.
In this budget?
Well, it's in one, it says new line for training.
It's in there somewhere.
It might be in another budget. It says
Now,
surveyor's
is that
budget.
the one that you wanted to take out of the, not the elected officials? Is that,
Yeah, it's all the elected officials fund, yes.
This one's.
yeah,
So that's not in here then? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
That would be a separate.
That's a
request.
It's a separate fund.
All right,
Yeah.
and we
great,
won't.
perfect. And then gas, oil, and lube is up significantly, but that's per guidance from the Commissioner's Office. I don't think that's correct, but that's what they sent me as suggested budget. So I
They
put
must
it
be
in.
allocating you more gallons for some reason.
This new truck gets better mileage than the old one did. But in the,
Are we reducing that?
I feel like we could move that down to 5,000, but
I think we could probably go even less than that. 5 would be enough. I think 4,000 would probably be enough.
if you're offering
When
4,
I
I'll take
checked,
it.
Back in July, I think I still had $2,000 available. I was less than halfway through my budget.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of June, you were at 31% expended,
Yeah.
so.
And if we double that, you're still gonna have plenty of money.
But I just put in what I was suggested to put in.
Yeah, let's go to 4. Our fuel contract is essentially flat year over year, so it's not like we're gonna have extra costs there.
And I think that's everything in the surveyor's budget.
Okay?
And for Mary's sake, I'd like to, the two top positions on the county surveyor's page, Mary. And then if you look at the plat book page, there's additional for those two, and the 3% was added to the first page.
Okay.
Because it doesn't, the 3% isn't added, so you'd realize that might be missing. So, thank you.
If we flip the page, the next budget in our book is the drainage board budget.
Drainage board and 3% for all the members. And then on line 6-3 there, I added from $1,250 to $1,500. Let's see which one that was.
A lot of zeros in here that nothing's been used.
I see the attorney retainer went up there a little bit. Is that Jay? I can't remember.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the retainer that went up.
Yep. That's fair. Next one is that plat book budget that Carol just mentioned, and does have some additional compensation there on first.
I need to take those out.
Yeah, they were supposed to come out.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
that was mine.
Oh, okay.
So why are those coming out?
Because they're added into the, they're accounted for, they went up to the midpoint or whatever percentage that they were supposed to go to. All of that's accounted for in his regular budget, instead of having a regular budget salary and then an extra stipend to bring them up to wherever they wanted, to be paid. It's all accounted for
In county
in
general.
county general.
That was my understanding. I did make the effort I could find that somewhere else if we needed to.
You seem doubtful. Okay.
I'll think
Because we
about
do
it.
pay part of the other salaries out of plat book.
They were just always separated before, so.
Yes, it's one of those, it's the way it always was.
Well, always was. It's like cutting off the ham to fit in the pan.
Well, we'll let that fund grow so that when you want another truck, we'll take a big chunk out of there.
That'll work.
All right. Okay, next one then is the Corner Perpetuation Fund, which is all professional services.
Yeah, and then I had line, but I think that's now been removed. It may show up another line to help cover Zach's, what he was offset, but then that worked out through the process, working with Cecily. I was trying to make up his difference.
We just
what
show
he
the
was
one
gonna
item.
lose. Pardon?
We just show the one item.
All we're showing is 50,000.
Okay, then she took care of that upstairs.
Yeah.
I'm just going by my original notes.
Yeah.
Salary thing was a major issue there in our office for a little while.
And then user fee fund.
User fee, added 8,000 to professional services.
So how do you decide whether you're going to use user fee?
Drainage ordinance is not.
And that is all of the surveyor budgets. All right.
Thank you.
Thank-
I just think.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, Gina's here. Okay, treasurer is next on our list.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Dan.
Hello.
No, starts to say good morning.
It's been a long day, hasn't it? So very, just essentially a one pager here.
Yeah, mine's pretty cut and dry. Basically, I did the salaries like we requested with the longevity pay. I moved some numbers around, and I think I netted like $30 more than I had from last year. So,
That's unacceptable.
and my part-time help went down by like $2,300. So,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
helping
so-
the cause.
Thank you for looking at it.
Yeah,
all
you
that.
offset
Thank
your
you.
longevity there, so.
That's good. Good.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not much, I almost feel guilty that we
I
made you
know
come
there's
down.
not. I mean, I don't. Mine's pretty well cut and dry. I don't really have a lot. So.
It's nice to see your face, though.
Yeah. Okay, anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, all right. Well, thank you for taking the time to
Thank
come
you.
and see us, saying
problem.
hello. Now, do we know whether we'll have weights and measures?
Yes, I had
Um,
told him to come at 3, so
Okay.
if you want to do some of the other budgets while we, like Wildcat
Yeah.
or Airport or any
Can
of the
you speak to
council
Wildcat?
things.
Sure.
I mean, is there,
Well,
Clark used to always
Let me see
kinda-
what's in the
tell
budget.
us all about it.
And
I don't know how that got put together, so I don't want to.
Joel did it,
Okay.
and he gave it to me.
Okay,
So
well, I'm
you're
sorry, I
sort
didn't mean to
of-
put you on the spot. I wasn't
I'll
sure.
wing it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether the board did that or not, so. Well, we were just talking, let's go ahead and do Wildcat then, since that's what we were just talking about, which is tab 27. Maybe Britt, you can speak to it if you've talked to
You know,
Joel, but.
I didn't even think to have Joel come up here, but, I mean, he kept everything pretty cut and dried. The board had decided to, really the only, one of the big changes was the Mulberry Recycling. They went ahead and upped that budget. And that was something they had decided on during one of last year's meetings.
I have a question about both of those.
Sure.
Why Mulberry and why Clinton Central? What about the other small towns? Why only those two facilities? I'm just curious how they were chosen and
No,
how Mulberry gets
You had to have
money.
that passed.
You know, Mary, I wonder if the other small towns have not come and asked. Because these have been these have
Don't say
been,
anything.
since I have been part of Wildcat, and even before, these have been the only two that we've paid.
Okay.
So if any,
Does Kirkland have a recycling?
Well,
Well, I guess
we sent a nice letter recommending for was it Rossville, the trash collection facility there.
Yeah.
They asked us to send a letter of support, which we did.
to who?
I believe it was the county council because that's been years ago. And then we never heard anything. And then finally I reached out to Clinton County Disposal, that's who it was. And they said, oh, well, they just chose Mulberry for now. Like, okay, like they just wanted to choose Mulberry to see how things worked.
So this used to come for this used to be in a commissioner budget, I
And-
want to say.
And so this
And-
does go back years and
Yes.
years ago.
So it used to be under the commissioners, and then a few years ago, we decided to move it to Wildcat. What happened before my time, I have no idea.
So it is a possibility for another community to participate. Okay.
It is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good
but
to know.
Clinton
Thank you.
Central already has one.
Well, and they have for years.
Yeah.
Clinton Central had theirs, and this was something that Clinton County Disposal wanted to kind of start offering to the small towns.
There was some thinking at the time that, you know, Frankfurt had Frankfurt, the city, the central part, and then Clinton Central was the effort to do the eastern part of the county, Walbury, the effort to
Okay.
do the western part of the county.
Was
There
there
was-
some grant funds involved too, maybe at the time? Like I said, this goes back many years ago.
That I don't remember, but Britt's right, it used to be in the, I think it was out of the landfill budget, was
Was it?
originally where it was, and then Clark Beard had offered to take it into the solid waste because that fit into their purview, their kind of, what their tax rate was meant to support, and so that was a budget savings for landfill and went over to there, and so I'm not sure if you're right, I think those are the only ones that have come and asked.
And I'm not
It
sure
is
any
an
other
ask.
communities are interested. I was just curious that, I mean, that's a pretty large sum that Mulberry gets to operate a recycling center because the reason a lot of places don't do it is because of the expense, so.
Well, the recycling center in Rossville's gone.
Well, we're still giving them money.
I was gonna say.
Or, not Rossville, Mulberry. I
Mulberry.
misspoke, sorry.
Rossville's gone. They
Yes.
did away with it.
Yes, that's where Clinton County Disposal was located, yes.
I mean, if Joel was here, he could give you a really good talk on solid waste.
I think so, and darn it, we
It's
should
too bad, yeah.
we should have had him come.
Because it is.
Who Waste
I
Management,
think
yeah.
it's pretty interesting. but,
Yeah, I was just curious about that when I saw the large amounts there.
I do know that there's another full-time person that's on there this year. I don't think that was there last year. It's expensive to get rid of this stuff. Where's Heritage on here? There should be
I think
Heritage.
it's the top of the second page.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, that's
75,000.
electronic stuff, to get rid of electronic stuff.
Wow. There's electronic and then there's, Heritage,
Yeah.
2 lines for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Heritage altogether, then it'd be 100,
Yeah.
or the disposal's 100.
I don't know about building improvements, it's just a little place. 10,000 for machinery, maybe he's gonna update his fork truck.
Okay. All right, well, let's look then, we'll consider that one reviewed. That's one of those budgets that does have its own board. And
Yes.
so I always try to be deferential to those boards unless there's just something egregious. And so same thing with the airport authority, so we'll look at that one real quick.
Can I just say, because I've said this before, but this board has 3 commissioners, and a council member, and the mayor on it.
Yeah.
Is that happening anywhere else? It's pretty top-heavy.
Yeah.
So where does
Forget the
their
council
funding
member.
come from?
What's
They
that,
have-
Mary?
So
They
it's
have
a
a tax
Property
rate.
taxes.
They have a
It is the
tax
tax rate,
rate.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Okay, tab 12 is the airport, and it's an easy one too.
Well, we'll decide that.
We're gonna be tough, you guys are gonna be tough on this one.
You'll see that it's, we had a, if you look at that 2024 amended budget, you'll see it was a big number, and that was because we acquired $750,000 worth of property right behind the Federal Mogul location. So that inflated, we'd been saving for that purchase, and it was completed here earlier in the year, and so that's why that number is so big. So 2025 is kind of going back to more of a normal budget, similar to what Renee had said. And a couple of these bigger numbers on the second page, airfield development and airfield improvements, are quite frankly placeholders for some monies that we don't quite know what we're going to do yet, but we wanted to have something budgeted so that we could react accordingly. The difference being airfield improvements would be, we have a couple of hangars that are getting some age to them that we've talked about improving doors and heating and lighting and things like that. Airfield development is any money that we may invest in this new 25 acres that we just, if we wanted to start putting some concrete down to increase ramp space or apron space, things like that. So we've begun the process of kind of a new, well, it's not really a master plan, but it's sort of a new plan for the newly acquired areas that would be a multi-year, multi-step. Start with some concrete, eventually try to put some new hangars up and continue to grow the functionality of the airport. But really the overarching goal that we have right now is to get infrastructure in place. Our goal is to be the Indy exec, that as what Indy exec is to Indianapolis, we want Frankfurt to be to this Lafayette Leap District area. So, you know, in our little dream world, Eli Lilly will have a flight department that operates out of this airport. You know, if somebody needs to go fly around the country or the world, you know, they would fly in and out of Frankfurt. So acquiring that property was a really big deal because it would give us, if somebody wanted to have a custom hangar, we now have a land base that we could offer them a location. So that was a big purchase for us. And so this year is going to be a year of just trying to do some things to improve airport infrastructure and no buildings or anything, but trying to improve the ones we have. And getting IU Lifeline in there was a big deal because
Yes.
they're you know, not only is it
they're
good for the
spending money.
community, they're paying us
They're
really
spending
good
money.
rent. And so that was a way to increase our revenues without having to go to the taxpayer. And so I think this is going to be a consolidation year. And then I would say in 26, probably you'll start to see another round of thinking about a bigger project. So I'm happy to talk about any of these things in particular. But that's kind of the overall vision of the airport board. We've been very, very fortunate. I think we've had one or two people turn over, but for the most part, since that board was created and started in 2012, it's been essentially the same board. And so there's been a real continuity of vision and you know, just stick to the long-term plan, and it's paying off. You can see it. It's visually a different place than it was 10 years ago. So that one's that one.
I'm
Who started
listening,
that?
I'm trying to save Stevens grant.
Is a lot of that paid for by user fees, tax?
So we do have a tax rate.
Okay.
So a little bit of history that was formerly a city airport authority, and it was funded by a tax rate only on the city of Frankfurt. Back in 2005, there was a state levy freeze that caught that airport at a time when their levy was kind of artificially low because they had saved a lot of money in anticipation of a project. The General Assembly froze their levy. They got essentially frozen at a level that was below what they needed to operate. They blew through their cash reserves, and eventually they had no choice, but they came to the county council and asked to dissolve, well, they didn't ask to, the city decided to dissolve the city airport authority. They came to the council and said, would you create a countywide airport authority? So that's why this is the Frankfurt Clinton County Airport Authority. So that made the tax base the entire county rather than just the city. And by doing so, you were starting a brand new taxing district that got to create its own budget. So it was kind of a do-over. It was kind of a mulligan that allowed them to reestablish the tax levy that it needed to be to operate the airport. And so, since it was a new district that contained the county and because of the way property taxes operate a year in arrears, there was 1 year where the city authority operated the day-to-day aspects of the budget, and the new city-county board was elected to create the budget for the next year. And because that first year was all budget-oriented, I got asked to serve representing the council on that, and now 10 years later, I'm still on there. So that's how I got into that role. But it's a kind of an interesting story. So, any questions on airport before I move on? Okay. Perfect timing. You can go on up here. We'll move right on into weights and measures, tab 26. And this is always a tough one.
Yeah. Takes up a lot of time. Really thought-provoking.
I got it in.
Did you? Good for you. Okay, so I'll turn it over to you. Probably only one big change in the budget I can see ahead here, but
Well, I've increased the amount, I think, for professional services. With the
I
size of the station at
See professional services
2865.
on here.
I don't see a professional services on here, Bob.
What?
So we may not have gotten that advertised.
We got, hold on. In this
Gosh, I'm sure I put that in. Oh,
number.
it's under, it's under services and charges.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's under services and charges,
How much?
the $1,500.
Checking of high flow meters?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what it's,
Okay.
it's checking of high flow meters is
Yes.
what we call it.
Okay.
So what should that be called? Should we change that descriptor there? Or is that
Well,
work?
normally, that would be like for the high-flow diesel pumps, either the
So-
two that we have is out now at 2865, and also at, well, it's Keystone now. But I'd like to go ahead and expand the definition of what we're going to do with that. At 2865, in fact, we're going to try to do that this week. They're supplying the equipment, goods, supplying the equipment to do it. Which technically they probably should, but I wanted to have a little cushion in there in case there was an issue next year. But we'll probably be out there at least 2 days. It is, to give you an example, it is 4 times the size of the Good to Go on South Jackson. So it's a total of more than 128 tests, 5-gallon tests. The one on South Jackson's 30. That's pretty much a day's job to do that. The reason is because all I have is 2 5-gallon cans, proving cans. And I don't have any way to transport any more than that. And what, they'll be using M&M services. They've got a truck with a slide in the back that can hold 100 gallons at a time. So we can do several tests before we have to go dump. As when I do mine, every time I fill a 5-gallon prover, I have to go dump it. So it's not an effective way to do that.
Okay,
So,
that all makes sense.
So that's the $1,500?
yeah. It was 500, and I talked to one of the state inspectors, and he estimated it would probably be around 1,500 if we picked up the whole tap.
So that if we, to make sure that we're speaking the same language here, do you want us to call that professional services? Because that was your first description of it.
Well, I was thinking of whatever was the
The
line on there.
category.
I would rather have it as just simply fuel meter testing.
Okay.
Okay.
That would cover both.
Okay. Okay.
That's easy. We can do that.
Yep.
You know, the one thing about this budget is that I always feel like I learn something every year when it's the smallest budget and yet we learn something every time he comes in. So,
I have a question about the salary line. The midpoint should be 29,454, I think. Is there some other thing I don't know about?
I want to think Cecily says.
Yeah, I figured on 1,020 hours, half a year.
Oh,
mean-
well,
That's,
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, did you increase your hours? Didn't you, maybe?
no,
No?
when I was hired, I was told it was 20 hours a week.
you're still doing 20 hours.
Yeah, and that varies. This week I'll do 24, last week I did, or
Right.
last week I think I did 16. So
Maybe Cecily
it
grabbed
depends.
the wrong number.
Yeah, I'm just going by the form we have.
Do we want to text her and ask her about this?
Well, since Bob's here, I'd kind of like to ask that while he was here.
That's
Just-
what I mean,
yeah.
I'm texting her
Okay,
right now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because what I have has that number that's on there. So I feel like there was some kind of. Something was sent to you with that number or some adjustment. Reason. Yeah, to it, yeah. Yeah. And there might very well be, I just didn't know about it. Yeah, no, I've been looking for the midpoint or the 3%.
Yeah.
Each time.
Oh my gosh.
Are you getting a response?
Give her a second here. Oh, shoot. Not yet.
Words behind you. It's behind just on track.
Okay.
I went to do it the last minute, my computer went dead, and I was like, okay, one more thing, one more thing.
I tell you what, Bob,
Make
if
the
you don't mind
adjustment.
hanging out for
Sure.
just a minute, let's take our break.
That's what I wonder.
I need to go use the restroom anyway.
Okay.
So
Are we doing anything anymore today?
I thought maybe we could get into the council.
Yeah.
I say call them.
council tab here, and we'll call it a day and finish with the big budget tomorrow morning. Council is what, 8? And I guess I shouldn't shortchange the council. We've got a big budget too.
Absolutely.
So, the
We're taking everybody to the high point.
I wanna,
I'm cutting this budget. I seriously am. I wouldn't be laughing. I'm seriously cutting it. We're starting with salaries. No,
we do have a big cut here.
We do have a big cut.
So I'm gonna let
Where-
Britt walk through that one on.
Oh, yeah, it is a big cut.
It is a big cut. Oh, Jeff already knows.
Yes.
Jeff fell out of his chair like I did when we saw that
called
number,
it
and so
on
he's
the
calling
side.
me like, what? So,
All right, well, number
31.
31.
31 and 32.
Yes, we're going to lower those. I'm going to change those to 900,000 for number 31.
Even 900,000,
Let's do even, yep.
okay.
And then I'm going to reduce retirement, number 32, to 1.3 million.
Okay.
So right out of the gate, we're cutting like 1.2 million.
Okay.
No,
So the
2
reason for
2.2
that,
million.
So what happened?
2.2 million.
um,
Oh, no,
Oh,
that's-
no.
no, I'm adding the totals. Never mind. No, I'm with you.
the reason for that is on my spreadsheet, I zipped through and added everything together for salaries and then did the math for FICA and for retirement. Only to realize later that some departments pay for their own.
Okay, right.
So I went through and took those out. So then when I took those out, it made this number way better.
So does this number that's remaining, since it is a big jump year over year, does this number include that EMS number that you and I talked about? This 901.3, does that include taking that out of EMS, or would that still have to be?
No. Yes, so all of our the lit correctional facility, the lit EMS, where people get paid, this pays for them. I kept them all the same. So, yes.
So that is in here?
Yeah.
Because that's something we're gonna have to take out of Steven's budget then, because he still shows it in his.
He might show it, but I don't.
Well, in the book
But
it
in
shows
the book,
it.
we'll need, the budget book.
It
will need to
shouldn't,
change.
because I've changed it. Okay,
I
well, that's
think
okay. We'll change
watch.
it. That's
We'll
okay.
watch.
Yeah,
Watch
We're
for
gonna,
tomorrow.
yeah, we'll fix it.
yeah.
And
I just wanted to make sure we
I
didn't
think
double
in
count or.
Gateway, I've changed it.
Okay, I was gonna say,
The FICA,
okay.
the lit EMS FICA is, I'm pretty sure I changed it in Gateway.
What about, we had that one meeting back in July with the health insurance.
We still do not know.
Okay, okay.
So
What
they,
did I do, 12%?
we did,
think
so
is what
yeah,
I
we
did.
have a 12%
Increase.
increase built in
Okay.
as our guess.
Okay.
We are gonna take the insurance to market. So
Okay.
it'll be a little more complex than when we've just been waiting on the renewal from IU Health like it's been in the years past, but we don't have any of those numbers yet.
Okay, okay.
Which is late, we're late.
Well, I thought, did I
Yeah.
miss a meeting?
No, it's, and I think Bob Paya from LHD intentionally has kind of been holding that late, because if you'll remember at that meeting, he was showing some claims history that was pretty
Yes.
poor on the front end, but had
Yes.
started to get better.
Yes, he wanted to wait.
And I think he wanted a couple more months of data,
Okay.
hoping they would be good and average in, so. So, yeah, my gut feeling is if we get a renewal or a new bid, that the low bid is over 12% beyond this year, we're probably gonna make plan design changes to keep the cost limited.
Okay, so then that also then would affect, I noticed in our budget, we have the health clinic.
Health
So
clinic's
all that
separate,
changes.
it's separate.
Do we always have a health clinic of some sort? Okay, okay.
And you are eligible to use it,
You know,
Yeah.
I need to figure it out.
yeah.
It's so nice.
It's so nice.
Is there a phone number or how do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So you can go in
Okay.
there and get amoxicillin, whatever, you gotta, yeah, it's,
I never go there
But you
either.
have to have a doctor. You have to have a.
Well,
it's an employee clinic. So you go in there, blood works, doesn't cost anything. It's,
Even if it comes from another doctor, Mary,
Yeah,
you
so-
can take,
You take it in.
it can go, like, even if you're somewhere else, they can still take the blood and send it in,
essentially that 180,000
and it's free.
is prepaying for a lot of those services.
Okay.
So they're pre-covered, or the county's paying for some of that base level service. And the payoff to the county is that it doesn't get submitted to insurance as a claim.
Okay, so you can even go there for just a checkup, an
Ab-
annual.
Get your flu shot, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
so can you do that if you don't take the insurance? Because I don't take the county insurance.
that I don't know. No.
You have to take our insurance.
I mean, I just didn't think it was
Oh, I see.
necessary
When I was on
for
that
the county to
committee,
pay
there was
insurance
no
for me when I
increases
don't
in
need
health
it.
insurance.
So I didn't.
I've used it several times. It's great.
So the flu shots they're doing here in the courthouse, I can't do those either because I'm not on
Right.
county insurance. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, I chose not to I didn't want the county to have to pay insurance for me when I don't need it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
silly. I mean, silly.
Okay, so those were the really big things. Those three are right in a row. So we've reduced Social Security, we've reduced PERF, group insurance is up 12%.
Okay.
We don't know, that's a guess, that's not a set in stone number yet. Similarly, the life, vision, dental insurance are, we don't know, did you estimate on those? We don't know those yet, do we? Or sometimes we have multiple year
I had an email
things.
from Bob that I forwarded to you, and he knew, there were a few he knew. and-
Couple that were on multiple year.
Yes.
So,
Now, the unemployment and the longevity, that's,
So,
because council and, we're elected officials are not covered by either of those, correct? So when I thought, I only saw the council on here, and I didn't think that,
So unemployment is for the entire county, Mary. It's for all of the employees. So if we're in a pool and if someone applies, if they're released from their position and they file unemployment, then we don't, like most companies have a pool that they give into. We don't.
okay,
So if they win their case, then we have to pay it. A lot of times we leave 20,000 in there. We might not use it, but some years we've been hit hard.
oh,
So-
well, okay, I thought that was to pay unemployment, and I only
It
saw the
is.
council's salary
But
on here, and I was like,
it's
well,
just
we.
in the council's budget
It's
as a,
not for just council. It's in,
Okay,
just in this
gotcha,
budget.
gotcha. And the same thing then with longevity, because we're not eligible for longevity, correct?
You are
No,
eligible.
we are.
You are.
I thought elected officials were always exempt from longevity.
I don't
that's what
believe
thought.
so.
Okay.
I was
We're kinda
thinking,
making
I was
the
thinking
rules.
they were, I was thinking with that.
That's what we're doing here
I was
today,
thinking our
right?
document said that you're not eligible for longevity while you're an elected official, for the years you're an elected official, but if you work for the county other years, it was included.
your
You
years of
were.
service
I
count.
don't, that's not
the
what
case, then
we were told. Yeah, every budget would be wrong because we were told we could add it.
Okay. Well, we don't want everybody's budget to be wrong.
Yeah,
Well, so should I.
Well, the good thing is they won't be able to use it. I mean,
So should you what?
Super longevity.
well, hopefully, don't pay
Super
longevity.
longevity. Oh, no.
Hey, I'm going for that. I've been here 18.
Aren't these numbers
Mike, how long have you worked for the
really
county?
high?
Forever.
so
I mean, they are really high.
they are, but when you look at what
1975.
Stevens' numbers are that we're moving out, that's the difference.
Oh, that's
But
what's
not in
happening.
a full-time position.
Okay, still, okay.
So
Okay.
we're adding more than what we had in years
Okay,
prior.
I had 2 years off.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at,
And the
I'm
reason-
looking at last year thinking, what is happening? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I asked
Okay.
Cecily that, so I'll double check with that.
All right. Next.
HRA, HSA, we don't really know until we have the enrollment and we see who does the split between, a high deductible plan and the HMO type
I
plan,
bumped it 5,000.
which is probably fair. Da-da-da.
What's ability services?
Well, Ability Services out there on the west side,
And they're in our budget?
We give them some.
And longevity can go for elected officials.
So you'll recall in the levy, there's, we have the mental health number, the 200 and whatever some, and we also have an allowance for like disability type services.
Okay.
And so we give them some money that is, it doesn't count against the regular county tax rate. It's essentially an add-on.
Okay.
But we've supported ability services, I think, my entire time on the council.
Okay.
But I think it's been darn near flat at about this level. They've never really come back and asked for a lot more.
Looks like in '22 it was 78,000.
Well, that must have been
Odd year.
that was an odd year. That was a year that if you, that was a year and a half. There was a year that they didn't come and ask, or somebody forgot to ask for the second installment.
Okay.
And we didn't want to give it to them until they asked. And
Right,
so then the
exactly.
next year they came and asked, and we paid three payments in 1 year.
I see. Okay.
What are you talking about?
Ability services.
Oh, ability
That one, why that
services.
1 year is 78 versus the 52.
I thought you were talking about, I don't know, White Clinton Central, the
No.
recycling.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
that happened with that too.
Yeah, they forgot to ask.
That's right.
So a lot of big numbers there, but, some of this goes back to, particularly like the group health. It used to be a commissioner item, and in the dark ages of council versus commissioner with both sides lawyered up to sue each other, the council had the power of the purse, and we decided, hey, we're not putting ourselves in that position again, and we moved it to our budget and took it out of the commissioner budget. And
Well,
so.
I'm glad we're not there.
Oh, wow.
So that's why some of those things are here.
That was a crazy time.
How much is I was gonna add up this whole budget. Do you have any idea of the whole
I don't know, that's what I wanted to have that Form 4B
whole
for.
county budget?
So he's talking about the Form 4B.
Yes, we do have it.
That's right.
40,
43, 778, 646.
Well, what's county general? Do we know county general?
16, 8, 78, 24.
All right, I wasn't ready, you caught me.
Which there's been, I mean, obviously there's some tweaking. so
Yeah, will you,
It's going to.
we
happen.
can let you know after the tweaks.
Okay.
Could we have a copy of the Form 4B when it's complete?
Oh, boy, did the room get quiet.
were you gonna put those in this evening?
that approved?
The changes from today?
Oh, I don't
Or were you
mean
gonna
like
wait till we were
that's-
done to make the tweaks done?
I don't know, it's probably gonna depend on.
I'm just,
what time
we didn't
it
have that
time we
many
get outta
changes,
here.
did we?
done.
Her day's almost over, you know that.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
It's time to go home. Okay.
Well, we can wait till we're done. Do it tomorrow.
Okay.
There's always tomorrow, that's right.
There's always
I
time.
mean, I can email out what those figures are after we've
Had a chance to do it.
done all those changes.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Down the road when you're ready to submit it, yes.
And we have to decide if we need another work session.
Yeah.
And then we'd adopt in October. So Mary, we've got a long way to go. We'll,
It'll be a long time before we're finished.
yeah.
And this is a good thing about procrastination. There's always tomorrow.
Yes.
So just kind of then, anybody have any questions about those? Those are a lot of the things that are on kind of autopilot. I don't think there's a whole lot in there that we have much maneuverability with.
Okay.
If we flip to seed it, and we're getting into some of the ones we took peeks at earlier when Jordan was speaking, but top two things are the big ones for that budget, and they're bond payments. I would just note that the 2017 bond is actually a refinance of the 2009 infrastructure bonds that were issued jointly with the city, so we get approximately half of that money back from the city, that $409,000. The 2014 was for County Road 375 back to ConAgra. Professional services, we put those in there as a placeholder. We have had years where we've used it pretty heavy. Looking back at 2022, that was a lot of the sheriff drama there was involved in that. So this year's been very light, and that's good. That lets the cash balance grow in the account. But we put those in there anyway as placeholders so that when things came up, like for instance, we didn't talk about it today. Maybe we should have, but I'll bring it up and mention it really quick. Community Corrections is actually looking at the old police station.
Are we still
as-
recording?
Yeah. This is looking at the old police station as a potential new home. And the city has offered to donate the building to us at no cost. But we know that part of the reason they're not there is that it needed some work and they didn't want to spend the money on an older building. And so, and I bring this up because of the professional development. So Jordan reached out to me and he said he would like to have Envoy just do a walkthrough and give an initial estimate or initial review, not tearing into anything or anything like that. But I said, yeah, we got plenty of money in professional services, just do it, and we've got money to pay for it, and you don't have to come to the council. So that's why that's in there, so that we have the ability to do things like that.
Right. And that
We need
will-
an appraisal for a building, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
Partners in Progress is the PIP budget. We've seen that. That changes in the sense that the city's gonna help participate in that, so that's great. So that's kind of the seated budget. This would be where I would recommend when we think, let's just talk real quick about this. The Kirkland ask, the trail ask, the Monon Trail ask, it would come out of this budget in my mind.
And
Right.
seed it.
Yeah. And so I was looking back, Chip mentioned how we had committed, Mary mentioned it as well, how we had committed we did commit verbally to be a grant match, but I don't think that money ever got appropriated because the grant was never successful. And so it doesn't show up in the budget history here anywhere, but that's got a healthy cash balance. We got a special distribution into CEDAT this year that we didn't spend any of, so that all went straight to the cash balance. I think we can do it. I just hated to tell the council, let's make a decision 2 minutes after we heard about a $100,000 ask.
Well, and I wanted to make sure that they weren't asking for the 60
And 100.
and 100,
Yeah.
that we were really clear on, and not that it's not worth it, but I wanted to be very clear on, are you asking for?
There's 100 total, right?
100 total.
Yes. 60 that was basically committed for this year, and then, I think they forgot,
The 60
honestly,
was
I think they
committed-
forgot.
I think the 60 was committed 2 years ago, wasn't it?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Oh, was it 2 years?
I think it was 2 years ago.
I was,
But they never got the grant. I mean, I think
So-
their ask was 2 years ago.
okay, yes, and we would have got the grant, so, okay.
I would feel better if I knew that our money was gonna be a match against, like, that they had a grant and they needed the match and they came and asked and, we were gonna put the cherry on top. I'm a little more nervous about us just giving the money for,
Yeah, they're-
it's a big chunk of a construction for phase one.
Yeah, they used
you
the
know?
term, they used a term match, but they really aren't being required to have a match. We're just helping.
They'll be able to show it as,
If they need it.
if they needed to, but,
I think that maybe it's a good idea to have something in writing, that we want to see that, that this is exactly what's going to happen, that you do have the money secured, the balance secured before we hand over.
but see, I think that they want to have enough money in hand to do that first mile.
They need to do it.
Yes, they're still going to have quite a bit.
And I think they need our 100,000 to start.
So I guess I have no objection to moving forward with that. I was just a little, when we did the downtown grant, I think we were literally being asked to provide a match because they were gonna get this other money. and,
Yes.
And that turned out to be such a great, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I mean, we're getting a great return on that investment. This one just doesn't seem like it's as thought out. I mean, they know where they want to go, but there's not that physical plan to the finish line.
I think they know where they want to go, but they're hoping to just move forward and have the piece that's missing work out in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a little spot that's not working, but they think pushing forward, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And I think it probably will happen.
And hey, if we provide seed money for something that grows into something really big, that's great. But
Well, and if they do phase one, if they have enough money for phase one and they start it, it's still going to make a nice walking, biking area for the community of Kirkland. Even if it doesn't go miles and miles and connect to everything else, it's still going to be a nice amenity and helpful to the community. So
we can afford to do it out of seeded, I guess was my message. It was just, I hesitated to put any of us all on the spot right at the moment, and so I wanted, Mary, we probably should, and I don't know if you'd like to take the lead on that, to reach out to Mindy and Chip and just maybe talk about some of those things, some of those concerns about, well, give us something in writing, or,
Yes.
Rather than a presentation and we make a motion and that's it, and that's the only record we have of why we did, I'm not sure what form that would take. It wouldn't really be an interlocal agreement, because it's not between the town and the county. So I'm not sure what that document would look like, but.
Well, if they
Well-
just even gave us a
So-
written document of their presentation today, they didn't leave anything with us except the
That
map.
map.
Would we be giving that money then to Kirkland Main Street?
Well,
or-
maybe that's the first question to ask is who is
and
the
if
recipient?
we do, so what the town of Kirkland did, when we would commit, $5,000 a year, we would give them. And there was an agreement, we had a resolution drawn up that this is what that money was to be used for.
Yeah, because
so.
State Board of Accounts will we can't,
Yes.
it's like, goes back to Historical Society. We couldn't just give money to the Historical
Yes.
Society without an agreement that said what benefit the taxpayer was getting in return for that investment.
Right.
So we would have to have you're right, we would have to have a contract, maybe would be a better term.
So see, I think that would,
Well, we said we were gonna give them an answer at our next meeting, so if she does this legwork for us, we can vote.
And I don't care if we have, I personally don't care if we have that, like, signed, sealed, and delivered then. I'd be willing to have the vote on the record that we'll support and let those documents kind of follow up, but have them not get blindsided on meeting day that we're gonna ask for.
who will our attorney, the county attorney,
Um,
draw that
Tom
contract up?
Tom could probably do that, yeah.
Do you think, if we're going to do it, would he be willing to draw that up and then I could take it to him and say, this is, just so you know,
Well,
this
I
is
think
kind
we-
of what you're gonna
I
be.
think we'd want to have a conversation
well-
first before he'd know what he's drawing up.
Okay,
We
okay.
wanna know where the money's gonna go, who's gonna
Okay.
who's gonna receive the money.
So we kind of want a detailed plan. Is it Kirkland Main Street?
Are they incorporated?
What other
Yes.
monies are we matching?
Yes, and, yes, okay.
'Cause they
A
use-
budget.
Because they use the.
Well,
word
yeah,
match.
maybe that's a good, how
Wanna
much
see a
are we?
budget.
Because I couldn't tell you right now after that presentation, I thought it was a good presentation, but I couldn't tell you exactly what our 100,000 would go for.
Exactly. What's the most grants, when you ask for money, you have to say what the whole project's gonna cost, and then what you're asked to what you're being asked for,
See,
so.
you're the grant person, so now I'm assigning you to work with Mary, and
Okay.
you two follow up. And I think it's fair to say, unless any of you if you think I'm wrong, I think we're okay with this. Are you okay with that or in
Sure.
favor? Yeah. I mean, you okay, Mike, with the 100,000?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as long as it's documented and supported and all that. So I think the message we can take is we're comfortable, but we have to do certain due diligence
Right.
to justify it to the taxpayers.
Yeah, we need to know, I mean, they're asking for money, are we giving it to, who are we giving it to? Are we giving it to Main Street, are we giving it to the city of Kirkland,
Yeah.
are we giving it to?
And we'll have
one
to
of
have
the
an
guys?
agreement with whoever that is.
Does Kirkland feel like they're going to get some money for that?
Sounds like they have.
I think that they will. The way that, what I got out of what Chip was saying today was that the state also wants to see this. They want to see that
They wanna see
they're
it happen.
moving forward with parts of it.
Maybe that moves into the one.
Which this would help.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And then they're also hoping that then maybe if
It
we've
is.
got that part laid down, then Sheridan or Boone County will see that there's just a small section left.
We're going
and
to
be
shame
willing.
them into doing something. Yeah.
But I
Okay,
think
As long as it went for work and not just professional services.
I'm sorry that I took us off.
That's true.
I took us
Okay,
off on
okay.
a side street there, and let's finish these last couple, and we'll call it a day. Next one then was Cume Cap. So a very lean budget there. We're going to tap into our building cash balance by taking that fuel tank additional appropriation that we did today will come out of there. But even with that coming out, we're still in really good shape in Cume Cap. And so the biggest item in there is the computer and peripherals that Tim spoke about, that he really only pulls out of there as needed. So he tends to use, a big chunk of it, but not necessarily all of it.
Okay, I'm sorry, was Kirkland coming out of seated? or-
Seeded. Kirkland would come out of
yes.
seeded.
Yeah, okay,
Because I view that as very much an economic development.
very good.
The payoff to that $100,000 is going to be is when we have a housing developer want to put a subdivision on the edge of town, because one of the amenities is the Monon. So,
Exactly, and it could happen.
yeah. Then the last one in that tab is, I think it's the last one. No, it's not. It's got the bond. We got the bonds next. But the landfill budget is next. Jordan spoke to I'm glad he did, because that made sense to us, about the transportation agreement with Paul Philippi and then the social services. So really the total is, we're going from 110 to 130 is the net result of our kind of community support projects. And then the other big ones there are the liability and the workman's comp. And then at the very, it kind of almost hides at the top of the second page is that IU lease payment.
We'd like to pay it.
So I'll report, and maybe Stephen can even touch base on it tomorrow if he has something positive to report, but there have been a series of meetings, and there is at least now an official discussion of potentially forgiving those remaining 4
Awesome.
payments.
That'd be great.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And the quid pro quo,
Yeah.
this isn't a public meeting, and so maybe I shouldn't share too much, but I don't think that they would mind. The quid pro quo is that they want us to potentially allocate some of that money to improve the ability of EMS to provide more of the transfer services out of this
Right.
hospital.
Right.
Because there's a lot of times if they're using Lifeline or another service that the wait is really, really long for the patient. And so,
It's needed.
Because
that's ground that we could work on. We could.
Is it too busy, not enough people?
So our guys, our guys are often too busy. When they were running transfers all the time, they were getting burnt out. You may remember some of that discussion
that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
with Stephen. So we had cut back dramatically on the amount of transfers that we were providing, and it's been an issue for IU Frankfurt Hospital. And so I think there's ground for common
Helping each other.
Helping each other. So I'm cautiously optimistic that. Anyway, there was another meeting between West Central Region staff, and Stephen was a part of that today, and I think that topic was going to come up, and I'm hoping that maybe we'll have an update.
I wonder if the IU people,
He was meeting at 1.
I'm wondering if the IU people who are reviewing Stevens grants for ambulance cameras understand the extra services we're going to give.
Well, so there's a lot of moving parts with EMS right now, and
So
we'll get into a lot of those tomorrow.
Did
But
you say social services should be changed?
no, it's correct. I'm saying, but so really, what is now listed as the transportation agreement
Okay.
was
Oh.
Paul Philippi that came out of last year's 110,000 social services.
Now it's on their own.
Now they're on their own at 30,
Okay,
and
I
the
see.
social
I got it.
services is 100, so we're really giving 130.
I got it now. Great, thank you.
I was thinking there was something else. Maybe that was it. We did keep some in there for demolition of properties, but we're down to 30. We haven't really done much the last couple of years, and we've continued to kind of borrow out of that line, so we just went ahead and reduced it up front. Okay. And then the remaining pages in that tab are our bond payments.
On the first one, we have made a bond payment. It just came out of the wrong line.
Yeah, I need to do a correction. on
So
the
we need to
line.
do a correction on that first line. So we've spent 220.
Okay.
Is the request still correct at 4? Okay, so it's per year, okay.
Great.
So the first two of these, the road, you'll see the title, the road lease debt service and the sewer and water debt service. Those are paid out of income tax monies that we were already getting, the CAGIT funds, not CAGIT anymore, it's called expenditure rate funds. That are the county's income tax dollars, and we pledged a portion of those. That's how those are paid. The next two, the GO bonds and the lease rental bonds, that's the courthouse and the annex. Those were the ones that we, starting this year, part of the reason we had a jump in property tax bills was that we added a debt service tax rate specifically for those payments. So there is a subtle distinction between the first two and the second two bond payments.
Okay.
The go bonds, is that property tax, and then the other is?
So,
is
so
that-
GO and lease rental bonds for the courthouse annex are property tax, the other two are income tax.
Okay.
But we put those in there just so that everybody knows what what the bond payments are for the year. If you get asked, you've got a resource to look at and
Good,
be able to refer to.
good.
Okay, so that is kind of our stopping point for today.
I have a general question, if I might.
Sure.
Do we feel like the new expenses of the annex for, during 2025 have been included in the budgets everywhere that needs to be included? I know the utilities, we talked about security. I'm just trying to figure out what else we might be missing that we haven't thought of that was gonna be an expense to having two buildings part of the year.
The only thing I can think of is maybe custodial.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to think of what we might need, but I'm just thinking, where is it?
Furniture over?
No, I
Yeah,
think
we-
ours
we-
is a bonfire out back.
It's got new furniture in the budget.
That's right.
Yeah.
New furniture?
Some people can probably move theirs, like their assessors is fairly new. Ours has been here the whole time I've been here. It wouldn't even survive a move.
Well, and some of that stuff's in the budget
That
of the
press board
project,
is-
right? Some new furniture, like the conference room and all that kind of stuff, that furniture I assume is in the project.
We had some material that we bought, so you may remember, we're taking the departments here that have to relocate and putting them in the third floor. And we did order some furniture for that third floor that will be eventually moved back into this building. So that's been envisioned. One thing that's been, it's not overlooked, we just haven't allocated it yet, but we have a little bit of a cushion because this is an unusual project in that we issued however many millions of dollars in bonds, and it's taking 2 years to spend the money, so we're earning a lot of interest. And we're allowed to earn interest up to the amount of interest we're paying on the bonds. So we can't profit in the sense that if we were getting 3%.
Drag it out.
But we are getting interest. And that interest is accumulating, and it's not accounted for in any of the funds available. So we will have that interest money that we'll be able to dip into for a cost overrun, or if we failed to think of this, that, or the other, we'll have a little bit of money.
Well, it was just as I was going through these things line by line, it's like, okay, well, there's the utilities are included, and there's the security guys are included, but and that made me
Well,
wonder, what else?
I meant to, I let that get by me. I was gonna ask Jordan, but one of the things that the courthouse security, their wage rate is different than, I don't know if they should be at a deputy or at a jailer or, but they,
I haven't.
I wasn't sure
I've
where
got
that
to
number
go
came
through
from.
these budgets. I've got to go through these budgets yet.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Tonight, yeah.
I'm sure has some logic
And
behind
I'm-
it.
He's
I
got
mean,
it
this
at
is like the worst
50,498.
Is that gonna be part of the courthouse over there?
The most difficult,
Just
I
for a
think.
little bit while they redo this.
Well,
And we don't have a number by the sheriff. What tab is the sheriff?
Right, no, it won't
it
be.
won't be over there.
He's
have
at
a
the
number.
That'll
back.
be commissioners.
I mean,
Ladies, what tab is the sheriff? Because it's not on the list. The number's not on the list.
It's not on the list?
No. No, that was a Freudian.
It is,
It's right behind,
It's not.
Next to federal and
19.
19.
yeah, because I.
Oh,
got
it is.
to
It's, wait,
yeah.
yes.
It's what?
Oh, it's at
19.
The
19,
line
yeah.
spilled over to the next,
Yes.
it's 19.
Oh,
So
I
all
see,
those are
I
one
The
see.
tab.
sheriff is
Okay,
just
got
way
it.
down
Sorry
there.
about that, ladies. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
Dirty lashes with a wet noodle.
This morning, didn't it,
I only know because 2 of his pages were in with the county home. I was like, what's the county home guy got to do with this?
Well, that went pretty well, I thought, for today.
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, I'll leave all
Yeah,
this
we're done.
in.
Yeah, no.
We're done.